Work. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's...
Let me just pull up the transcripts on my other monitor.
Trans. Damn it.
What would a cis script be? The Last of Us 2.
Oh, that's topical.
I realized I had set myself up an opening and I had to.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Skylar.
And I am J.K. Rowling's overly fragile ego.
That would have been more topical for next week, but okay.
Why next
We'll still be
week?
fragile then.
Because we're talking about the Shakespeare Code next week?
Yeah, but also this week is the week that J.K. Rowling had her turf meltdown on Twitter, so that's what I was referencing.
True. That is true. Okay, that's fair. This week, we... Actually, wait. I just realized I didn't check. I don't think anyone sent anything, but I did not check the email account today. Just gotta do my due diligence.
Professionals at work. And by professionals, I mean Jeff, because he's the only one that...
No, okay.
is the
Nobody did the thing. Okay. Alright. So this week we are covering Smith and Jones by our lad, the based king, Russell T. Davies. This is the first episode to feature Freema Agyeman as the impeccable Martha Jones.
Hell yeah.
And the start of this will be the start of Martha Stan's season, because this is the only season we got. Thanks, RTD. Also the first appearance of the space cops, who were bastards.
Also very topical.
Yes. Oh no, there's some based shit in this episode, of course, because it's an RTD episode.
Is this also the first introduction of the David Tennant blue suit?
No, it showed up before. Like, I think the blue suit is it's supposed to be like he wears one suit for stuff in the future or one suit for stuff in the past or whatever, but it has shown up before.
Okay. I'm bad with colors apparently.
Yeah.
Noticed it this time though, but yeah.
I mean, I think it has. I don't know. Anyways. So yeah, I guess spoiler just gonna give my own opinion away. I think this episode is an all-time classic. Like,
Yep.
yeah. Like,
I don't know if I'd go for like all-time classic, but it's definitely a very strong episode. Like,
yeah,
it really hits.
yeah. No 45-minute syndrome here.
Yeah, it's again, it's so funny to go. Well, I mean, it's so funny to go from the Christmas special, which was just absolute incoherent nonsense, to such like a tight and well put together episode.
Once again, no, because the Christmas specials are like fun, haha, goof episodes, almost certainly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like in season 2, but then I realized we're gonna have the New Earth discussion again.
I'd definitely rank this above New Earth, and
Oh
I'd
yeah,
have
no.
to debate whether
If
I'd
you
rank it
don't
above
rank
Rose.
this above New Earth, I have to ask you, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I do not rank it above New Earth. I will say that.
Anyways,
Discourse.
so similarly to Rose, this sets up Martha first before the Doctor, and there's things that I like that it sets up how she's how like it immediately kind of sets up what kind of sets her aside from the others. She has a much bigger family, but they're all kind of squabbling with each other, and she's the one in the middle having to deal with all their bullshit, which is a massive oof.
I would say that's even a good like establishing thing for what she can do for the Doctor, because like the Doctor needs that. He needs like someone who can deal with his shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she also. I mean, we'll get there, but
Yeah.
I will fully admit that as much as I like Martha, this season does not treat her very well. Also, she's a medical student, which is shorthand for meaning she asks the actually fucking intelligent questions.
Yeah, and it's also a good sort of counterpoint to our current cop companion. I was trying to make a joke somewhere and it just sort of got lost. Yes, it's a cop. There you go. A-cab. Fuck him.
Yeah. If Chris Chibnall,
Smooth
you have
transition.
one season to have Yaz quit.
There was a joke going on that the next season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine should just, without explanation, have them working in a post office, and I feel like I would be satisfied with the same thing for Yaz.
Yeah. Yeah, just retcon it. Time fuckery.
Just go back and edit the old episodes. Just put like a mailman badge.
Just, you know what? Just even better. Just retcon Series 12 out of existence. Call the next one Series 12 Take 2, and it's just Series 12 over again, but the Timeless Children was the bad timeline, where Yaz was the cop.
It's the only
I'm okay with
difference.
that.
Gallifrey is still fucked, but Yaz isn't a cop. That's
And the
That's all
Master
we
is the
need.
Timeless Child.
true.
Um,
Oh,
Anyways.
I'd like to quickly comment on the I forgot her name, Martha's father's girlfriend. I forget.
yeah.
I don't know. I just got this distinct vision that people who like inexplicably like hate Rose's mom, that she is what they think she is. Like, I just got that vibe so much.
Holy
it's like
shit,
for
yeah,
people who hate
yeah.
Jackie Tyler, like this is what you think you see, but like so much worse.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
probably isn't intentional. I'm probably reading too much into that, but it gave me huge Pete's World Jackie Tyler vibes, but even like
Yeah.
worse. So
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's totally what I got too. I got like an exaggerated Jackie sort of vibe.
Yeah, I will say, I think I can't decide if this is a downside or not. The fact that like, Martha's family is like the least explored companion family in all of RTD. Because in Donna's case, you have Wilf, who is we stan. But we don't really like. I forget the names of a significant chunk of Martha's family because they're just not that important.
that might be a symptom of the writing of the Doctor just being more distant in general this season, and also that there's more people to go over. Those two combined things probably don't help, but it is kind of a shame that the most we get is towards the end and kind of in
although
the
I think I think there's some presence in the Lazarus Experiment, but that would require me to watch the Lazarus Experiment out of being other than me being forced by this podcast to watch it, which is something I'd never do. Also, I like how I do like the scenes where she's in her a medical class and like everyone's like these crazy, much more complex conditions or whatever. It's like, yes, this is clearly what it is, and the head guy is just like, no, you're overthinking it.
Yeah, it's a very good sort of moment of sort of showing. I think it's like medical student hypochondriac syndrome or something like that, where like you learn about all these horrible diseases and you start saying them everywhere, even though it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but it's also establishing that she's not one of the people trying to suggest stuff. And it sort of suggests that her character actually is much more sort of as much as these words have been co-opted by absolute scumbags, she's much more sort of logical and reason focused. Not in like a rational like I am a based enlightened 4chan dweller who has a poll bookmarked. But in an actual sort of I actually look at the situation.
She's shown to be very analytical. I mean, first with the whole like bumping into like the leather slab, what's its fuck thing, and then seeing them later. I mean, you could argue that's typical companion, like, oh, they see what others don't, but like it's very true in her case.
Rose would not have fucking seen shit.
Yeah.
I may be biased here, but Rose would not have even just been like, ooh, weird person in leather jacket, I guess.
Yeah, like episode 1 Rose compared to episode 1 Martha is, and by episode 1 I mean their intro episode. Yeah, there's a difference, definitely.
Anyways, so yeah. Then, of course, you get to the thing of the hospital gets transported to the moon and the rain's going up. And I just have to take a moment to say, fuck you, whoever mastered the audio on my Blu-ray, because the sound effects of the hospital getting transported are significantly louder than anything else in the audio mix. Like, it's so loud.
I gotta ask, did you have the Blu-ray right next to you just so you could hold it up on camera for this exact moment?
No, I just store all my shit on my desk is a mess. Like, I have the full fucking thing here. I have my Torchwood DVDs over here. I have this fucking, like, Bowie live CD that I still haven't listened to. My desk is just a mess.
I'm not even going to question the logic of, like, hydro scoops, whatever. It's
whatever.
A cool
it's
visual.
A cool name.
Exactly. And I don't know. This is kind of skipping ahead a bit, and like really ahead a bit. But like how the Jadoon act with like, oh, jurisdiction. We have to like scoop this whole place and put it on the moon because we can't go on the Earth. Versus Series 12 Jadoon. And I'm just willing to bet that since they're, like, spoiler alert, kind of working for Time Lords, they're like, yeah, we can do whatever the fuck they want if they're paying us.
Yeah,
because it's the Time Lords.
AJACB. AGCAB. All Jadoon cops are bastards.
True facts.
Took you a moment there. I will just comment on the effects. It was like it's a very good sort of thing because it's like the way I'm sort of thinking of it is like the rain starts going up as if it's like sort of starting to lift, and it like creates like a vacuum space above it is what I'm thinking, and then like sort of sloops it up, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it was in
Oh,
my
it
head.
definitely
and it
can
was
be
just sort
explained
of
away.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. And then, they're on the moon, and we get sort of the first moments of Martha being a big brain, rational, skeptic, epic person, where she's like,
the fact, like, also we've mentioned the fact that 10 and Rose have far less chemistry than 9 and Rose do. And this is just even more apparent here because literally in that first, 5-minute scene there where Martha's friend is freaking out, like, oh my god, don't open the windows, we're gonna all die. And Martha's like, these windows aren't fucking airtight. The air would have gotten sucked out already if we were going to die. And the doctor immediately is like, hey, that is a good appraisal of the situation. You're cool. And then immediately followed by, okay, if there's a force field, that means that we have limited oxygen.
Yeah, it really just drives home how little went on between 10 and Rose in season 2. Like, because, like you said, it's literally just like those 5 minutes I feel like had more personality than all of the dry married couple interactions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's also weird, the
line that really sells it for me is the part where the doctor's like, fancy going out, and Martha's like, okay, and the doctor's like, we might die, and Martha's like, we might not.
King the bitch. Yeah, it's fun going through these super chronological, because obviously I've done that before, but as I've mentioned before, first time going through all of the show, I was going through it very unchronologically. So I'm pretty sure when I got to Martha and I would hear 10 talk about Rose and how awesome she was, I was just like, oh, this must, this is really compelling. And then I went back and I was just like, not really. So it's kind of weird how you could.
10 is that one fucking person who simps for that one person. It's like, why are you simping for this person, dude?
Exactly. So it's weird how it's almost better without that context. You could almost jump in here and be like, wow, if he's hitting it off with Martha, how much better was it with Rose? And I'm just like, no, honey, no. But yeah,
no, it was not. It was terrible.
It's instant, which goes to the strength of the actress that Russell T Davies was just like, hey, I know you've technically already been in an episode, but you're rad. Come back, please.
Yes. You're so good that I'm going to have to come up with my very own character for you. Which is actually funny, because I think the other episode that we're covering today has ties to, it really feels like you're a clone of characters in that series 2 finale.
Oh, yeah. I have a point to make about that later.
Yeah. But yeah. So yes, they explain that of haven't I seen you before? And she explains that she had a cousin who worked there, who died. Also, it's funny that 10. I will say it's kind of funny that 10 mentions that he was there, and she doesn't really question him on it. She's just like, okay, and then she starts focusing on something else and does the okay, Mr. Smith, and he's like, that's not my name.
It's a really atmospheric scene, though.
Yeah,
it's a nice,
it's great.
Calm before the storm, because then the Jadoon cop bastards show up right after. Yeah. So
definitely not the kind of scene that Chris Chibnall would include.
Take a drink. Yeah, watching the Jadoon show up, I'm just like, yeah. When I was a kid, I was just like, wow, mercenary alien cops. I can't believe that police would ever do this, and like here I am sitting, 2020 for context, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I can totally believe that police would do this.
Yeah.
So,
no, it is literally like the Jadoon in literally every appearance, which you could also argue is cops, is the fucking the Sailor Moon meme where it's like, my job here is done, but you didn't do anything.
Look, Patrick,
and it's especially true in this. Yeah. No, literally, fucking like the Doctor and Martha do all of the legwork in this episode. They do fucking nothing.
The only improvement that Jadoon had between this appearance and fucking Fugitives in Series 12 was their physical appearance. Like, the animatronics,
the prosthetics,
the makeup was
better.
obviously a huge leg up. That's pretty much the only thing where I was just like, okay, yeah, that obviously hasn't aged, like, amazing. It still looks fine, but I was just like, yeah, that's an animatronic rhino.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks like, this doesn't look as good as I remember it looking. Which, oh well,
it's
that's
better than lazy cat makeup. Better than lazy cat makeup.
The cat makeup doesn't look that bad. It looks fine. What the fuck are you talking about? It looks fine.
But this is more creative.
Yeah, that is true. I will give you that.
Anyways.
Then we are introduced to the sort of primary villain of this episode, the Plasmavore, which is I mentioned this in the chat. This is just I fucking love, like, this is peak RTD. Like, it's stupid, it's kind of funny, but it's still like creepy. Like, it's perfect camp silly RTD, and I love it.
I of course have to make the necessary joke. Haha, vor.
Haha, Plasmavore go slurp slurp.
I had to get one in. No, but like for sure, it's a very good villain. Like, it's just. It's
like the fact that they got this fucking like 70-year-old lady to be like super menacing while coming at a dude with a fucking straw is amazing.
Especially I especially like that they tied it into like the earlier part of the episode. And you get the sort of contrast with like the doctors, or the doctors referring to the medical doctors being sort of hazy with both her and our doctor. Like with their medical stuff, and then it turns out that they're both aliens later.
Yeah,
that's a very good sort of like tie-in to the beginning of the episode, and also just like it's just the way they have her in this episode is like, it's really hilarious to watch, but that if you were in that situation, you'd be fucking terrified because she's
it's like a fucking like a Sam Raimi film or something where it's like, it's horror, but it's still kind of funny.
Yeah.
And is intentionally kind of funny.
The straw, man. That's just...
Yeah. Then the Jadoon show up and start cataloging everyone and acclimatize to the Earth English language. But first they speak in the Jadoon language, which our Doctor Who mega fan and British correspondent Emma posted in the Discord. Apparently, for most consonants, the Jadoon alphabet is literally just the consonant with O at the end. Like, it is basically just the alphabet with O's on it.
Hey, you pick a pattern and you stick with it.
Yeah. No, it's funny because, like, I wouldn't even have thought of it, but that's what it is. But anyways, Also, there is actually, I guess for Avery, just for you because you like New Earth, there is a New Earth reference here, because he references that there's no little shop. Like he's like, oh, like there should be a little shop here in New Earth, and then when he's in an actual Earth hospital, he's like, oh, there's a shop.
I didn't catch that. I the line. Oh, look, there's a little shop. It did make me laugh, but I did not catch that reference. That's very
Yeah, yeah, that's a callback. Also, I love the fact the exchange that he has with Martha. Well, first off, unlike certain Chibnall written characters, Martha doesn't immediately assume, well, if they're the cops, they have to be the good guys, right?
good.
Also, the interaction where he's like, they're making a catalog. That means they're after something non-human, which is very bad news for me. And Martha's like, well, why? And he just looks at her. And she's like, well, no, what? No, stop looking at me like that.
It's like, you heard my two hearts, bitch.
Yeah.
Get with the program.
Yeah.
That was a very good bit of dialogue. Yeah.
Anyway, then the Jadoon, like real cops, totally just execute someone for no reason.
To be actually, Jeff, it was self-defense. He was coming right at them.
Yeah.
For all the Jadoon know, he could have had a weapon. You know, think about if you were in that situation.
No, it's
you saw
truly
an
like,
armed-
yeah. It was like the most threatening weapon, a can of beans.
I like the defense of like, hey, you didn't have to do that. He was no threat to you. And he just says, justice is swift. Which, first of all, doesn't answer the question, my guy. Like, what?
Just like real cops.
Yeah, it was... man, was this episode a trip. Yeah. Very props for accuracy is all I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this really is a case of based RTD.
10 out of 10 immersion.
Yeah. Also, like the dialogue they have about the sonic screwdriver, it's just all the little things of Martha sort of getting thrown headfirst into the Doctor's daily existence is fucking great.
I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but when it broke, I was just like, oh, he's gonna get a new one, and then I was like, oh wait, they kept the prop.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Also, the line where the scene where they deal with one of the slabs by the Doctor cooking it by boosting an X-ray machine, and some of the lines like I increased the radiation by 5,000%. Oh yeah, also the fact that 10 just fucking iced a dude. Like that dude, oof. Gone.
10 does not say leather rights.
Yeah. But yeah, no, also the line's like, oh no, it's only Rontgen radiation. We used to play with Rontgen bricks in the nursery. It's safe for... it's like, yeah, I just absorbed it, and he expels it out through his shoe. And then we see tenant feet.
Gotta be my favorite part of the episode. Haha.
Also, the 1-2 punch of Martha going, you're completely mad, and the Doctor like, yeah, you're right, I look daft with one shoe. Also, the fact that he gets rid of the socks, too.
Was he wearing socks?
Yes.
Huh.
No chances.
Also, the line it's just a slab. They're called slabs. Basic slave drones. See, solid leather all the way through. Someone has got one hell of a fetish. This is why RTD is the best showrunner, because you don't get lines like that from the other two.
I just realized that Plasmavore has Vor in the name as well. So
you just realized that now?
Hey,
I made that joke like 5 times already.
Hey,
I said it early this episode.
Hey. Sometimes you cut out and I can't hear everything, okay? So that's my defense. But, you know what? Sure, yeah. I'm dumb, how are you?
Also, the fact that, like, Martha's trying to communicate vital information to him, and he's just like, oh no, my sonic screwdriver broke. Oh, my sonic screwdriver. And of course, he's like, he rebuilds that shit all the time. But yes, there's it's good plotting that, like, she uses the human doctor's blood to fool the scans. Like, that's good. And then
yeah, that whole thing is the whole mechanic of it is just a very good plot point.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very tight, good plotting that sets stuff up and then executes it well within a few minutes. Line where the doctor does, like, his humans thing, and Martha's like, I'm still not convinced you're an alien, and then immediately a Jadoon shows up and they get scanned. It's like, and non-human. Again. Yeah. You know, honestly, I feel like, now that I think about it, I don't think an RTD episode has suffered from 45-minute syndrome. Most of his episodes are actually really well paced for the time slot. Except for maybe Love and Monsters, but we don't talk about that one.
True.
That doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice that this villain has a brain. And I like that the only reason she's defeated is because the doctor happens to be there, and he, of course, has a bigger brain. Big brain boy.
Massive brain.
Is able to, like...
She was unlucky enough to be in the same hospital as another alien.
Unlucky enough to be in the same postal code as the doctor.
Because otherwise she totally would have gotten away.
Yeah. Yeah, and like roasted the planet too. Anyways, also I like the doctor trying to play human and just, like, pretending he's, like, freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, I think 10 does that probably the best. 13 sometimes acts human, but I think that's just inconsistent writing, and I don't know. I think 12 probably could also do that towards the end of his run, but yeah, David Tennant doing David Tennant-isms is awesome.
Oh yeah, also, you know, really when you think about it, everything that is everything that went wrong with Martha started with that one kiss.
Okay, I have
if
complaints
that hadn't
about
happened.
What? I don't know. It's just she's obviously intrigued by him, but it's, I don't know, it just seems a little bit cliche that, like, oh, just like one bit of physical contact and she's like very suggestive towards him. Obviously not while, like, things are life and death, but, like, once things pass, she's just like, things are going to be a bit intimate. Or
yeah,
okay, it's weird.
I see what you're saying, But at the same time, this is David Tennant we're talking about.
Sure, it just, I don't know. I think there could have been a little bit more to like bridge the gap, and I guaranteed if I'm the type of person that if anyone just spontaneously made out with me, I'd probably be like, oh, okay. But I don't know, just narratively speaking, there's a little bit of a disconnect for me. And I'm probably also just salty because that's pretty much like a majority of her character arc is just like getting over this man. There's more to it, but I'm a little salty about that. So, but whatever. It's a fun scene.
Then the Doctor gets a little bit of his plasma void. Rim shot. Oh yeah, I totally forgot the fucking thing where after the Jadoon scan, Martha is like, okay, you've just like briefly interacted with a non-human. They hand her like a fucking like thing that's like alien, and Martha's like, what's that? And they're like, compensation, and it's just like, I can't redeem this, asshole. Just like real cops. Then the Doctor meets Martha after that birthday party that was going on, and of course there's family drama and such. I also love how they tie together the beginning and the end of the episode, where he goes back to the beginning of the episode and takes his tie off in front of her to show that he can travel in time.
Yeah, but it's also, I don't know, it's a whole weird thing, like, that gets into, like, paradox stuff, like, how did that work exactly? Like, is there some prime timeline where he did that the first time?
Don't think too hard about it.
It makes no sense. Time travel is so consistent in this show. Grr. Good episode.
I will give the episode credit for the end in that it does address that, like, Martha is clearly like insinuating things, and he's not dumb enough to like not pick up on the very obvious points. I just think that because he's the Doctor, he thinks, okay, once I've shut it down and like she's being honest, that means like nothing's going on, and then he just continues being oblivious and assuming that until like the very end, which I still admittedly don't love, but I do like that there's some addressing of like, no, this isn't happening, even if it isn't perfect, because 10 is a mess.
Yeah, totally. I think this episode is an all-time classic. Great paced. All the acting is great. Dialogue is nice and snappy. Plotting is nice and tight. No bloat. No, this feels like it could have been expanded on more 45-minute syndrome shit. It's just a really solid episode of Doctor Who, from one of the best, one of the most consistent creators of really good, consistent Doctor Who episodes outside of finales. Yeah, I don't think I'd give it a 10 because that's like my own special tier, but I definitely give it a 9.5.
Yeah, it's really well paced. There's great chemistry, great introduction of villains and mercenaries, ACAB, and I don't know.
Yeah,
if
based RTD.
Hey, yeah, as I said, yeah, I mentioned paced well. Probably the only thing I'd like nitpick from it is that, is the whole like she like really quickly is like into him. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like that could have been like, obviously the kiss is dramatic.
It could have been a bit more like shown a bit more subtly a bit earlier. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. So I don't know. For that reason, I'd probably also it probably takes it to a 9 for me, which is still great, and it's definitely like, I think only Rose is higher than it in terms of like intros
Setup
to a
episodes,
series,
yeah.
just because of how much Rose had to set up. But this
Yeah.
is top tier.
Yeah.
9 out of 10.
If anything, honestly, this is just as good a starting point as Rose was. Like, because it does the same thing and centers it around Martha first. Like, it's not quite as impactful as Rose, but like if this was your first episode, it wouldn't be the worst place to start.
True.
All right, my turn. I would generally what Geoff said just about, it's a very tight, consistent episode. Really gets you good dialogue, good characters, a great introduction for Martha. I think it's sort of a great reintroduction for Ten, honestly.
Yeah.
Because he feels very different, and in the Christmas special, he was just sort of moping around, and this is sort of him just like sort of getting back in the saddle, Yeah, no, it's just an all-around good episode. I wouldn't say it grabbed me as much as some of the other episodes that I've given higher scores, so I would probably end up with like an 8.5 for this episode, I'd say.
Okay. That's fair. So yeah. Now we move on to talking about a much more uneven episode.
Are there any content warnings for?
Content warning for graphic discussion of graphic cyber conversion, violence, and potentially, I guess, unhealthy relationships. This week on our Torchwood segment, which is unnamed, we are talking about Series 1, Episode 4, Cyberwoman by Chris Chibnall. Now, despite the, like, sigh, haha, Chris Chibnall, I actually think, like, this is one of his better episodes. If not, like, it's definitely, like, out of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, I think this would actually be, like top 5, top 3 things he's written for the Doctor Who universe. Like, as much as I feel like the thing with this episode is that the entire concept is let down by the design itself.
Oh yeah.
Like, if the design was just like a normal cyber suit but with like the faceplate missing, hell, even what Chibnall kind of went with the lone Cyberman, which was the best part of that particular series finale. Possibly even one of the only good parts of that series finale. Yeah, the design lets the whole concept down, because I think the concept is a good concept. And I think this episode is a hell of a good episode for Ianto, and Gareth David Lloyd really acts the shit out of what he's given. And you really feel for Ianto, and you feel like this is what Ianto feels and how distraught by the situation he is. It's just that fucking shitty, like, why does it have heels? Why?
Turns out the Cybermen are class reductionists. They don't actually want to erase sex and gender roles. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got.
They had to give her fat titties because that's necessary.
Okay, You know what would make this episode...
It's funny. It's funny too because in the other than you have the lone Cyberman, but also in the series finale, the Timeless Children, he does the exact same shit where he takes a potentially good idea dealing with the Cybermen and fucks it up horribly because he misses the point that the entire point of the Cybermen is that they are all the same, and they are all a very practical utilitarian design.
I maintain this episode would be so much better and so much more unintentionally hilarious and tragic. Imagine if the woman is Adeola, so you get the actress for Martha, you get her in there a second time to confuse things even more, and then this whole time that he's anguishing over, Ianto is anguishing over his lost love, you realize, oh, she was skipping off her shift to screw around with that other guy in the series 2 finale.
I mean I don't know. I mean that other guy actually looks like him because he's wearing something that looks a lot like one of Ianto's suits.
Yeah, I'm just you could retcon it to be that's that and include the Freema Agyeman, I think her name is. But it also would just amuse me that he's going over all this angst, and in the end, she's just nah, fam, I was canoodling with someone else. I know that's not the point of the episode. I was just, honestly over how dumb Ianto was being, even if it was in character. But I was just I would be so more amused if this was Adeola instead of Lisa, I think her name is. Yeah.
No, in some ways it feels like they're taking those characters from the finale and just being they were these people all along. Because as I said, the guy looks like Ianto. But yeah. Also the other downside I will have is that for an episode that otherwise has some really good body horror gore stuff, the failed cyber conversion of the Japanese dude looks so fucking cheap. Even on a DVD, it looks cheap. It looks they just took this styrofoam bolt looking thing and grafted it on. It does not look good. But yeah, other than that, I think the episode gets steadily better as it goes on because it becomes
absolutely.
Because it becomes there's less stuff with the design. She goes full cyber person, though it is kind of weird that it's never really explained why she went full cyber, other than I guess the Japanese dude accidentally turned on her programming or something. But I think it starts at the episode in general, I'd give it a 5.5 or a 6, just because that first part really brings it down. But once the lights go out and lockdown starts, or even actually no, once Owen finds the cyber converter and flips the fuck out, I think the episode starts elevating from a 5 up to an 8 or an 8.5 in the very the final scene where she's transplanted herself into another body but still has all the fucked up cyber conditioning. It's creepy when she's talking to him in that body, and then you get the line of "we can be upgraded together," and you're just
yeah, if you can get over the hurdle of the design, which admittedly is a big hurdle, it gets a lot. And also Ianto kind of holding the character idiot ball for some things, for understandable reasons.
He's holding the idiot ball, but it makes... Yeah. It is the first time we really see what Ianto is like, but it's not it's understandable. He's a good person who believes that he can still save the person that he loves, and because of that, he makes a terrible fucking mistake. It's one of those things where it's a dumb mistake. I can see why he made that mistake,
Yeah.
And it's a very human thing to make that mistake, but it was a dumb fucking mistake.
And the narrative makes him pay for it. He gets another person, he gets 2 people fucking killed. And, like, traumatizes his team.
Gwen almost gets killed. Like, Gwen gets really close to dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this whole
Poor
thing
Owen.
was just sort of...
I mean...
Yeah.
Homie just couldn't keep it in his pants. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
I mean, that's Owen in general. Like, literally, that is Owen in general.
Yeah, I agree with it getting better towards the end. Like, as I was watching that last week's season, I was like, wait, this episode is suddenly good. I'm intrigued now. Too bad it's the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this episode is definitely one that, like, it takes a bit to get going, but when it does, it's actually good. Also, they use the pterodactyl for something. And it's like, okay, I know this episode has haters, but if you can't say that you like a pterodactyl, like clawing and biting the shit out of a half-converted Cyberman, fuck you, you're wrong. That is awesome.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, there's also some, like, isn't there some foreshadowing with, like, Jack and, like, I've never loved someone that much, and, like, I don't know, that seems like a thing that's being set up with, like, what I roughly know.
Yeah, setting up his eventual relationship with Jack, yeah.
Yeah. Or I was also talking about the the person we're introduced to that Jack knows. I'm being vague. The time agent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think this is where, like, as much as, like, this is an uneven episode, I feel like this is where the series starts to really find its footing. Like, there's still some, like, weirder stuff later on, but this definitely feels like we're getting into what makes Torchwood good.
Yeah. Like, it's a sort of more limited look at, you know, sort of the remnants of what happens in the main series is how I'd express it.
Remnants of the main series, and also how people who aren't attached to the Doctor act in this situation. How, like, normal fucking people act in these situations.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor is not always there. So yeah, I'd give the episode like a 6.5, mainly because as good as the later parts is, the first, like, 10-15 minutes in a 50-minute episode is still kind of a fucking drag.
6. Yeah, 6.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's solid. I would still die to see a cut of that episode where it's Freema Agyeman.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that'd be kind of neat. Well, I mean, it would get kind of weird because she joins the crew for 3 episodes in series 2, and then that would be kind of weird and uncomfortable.
Exactly. Look, I'm throwing all the kitchen sinks at this bitch, okay? All of them. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
It is
6.
weird
5.
that, like, everyone, like, seems to hate this episode, but not only do I think this episode, while mixed, is kind of good, I also think it's one of Chibnall's better works for the Whoniverse. Definitely way fucking better than day 1. Anyways, yeah, next week we will be covering Series 1, Episode 5, Small Worlds. I have not seen this I think I have not seen this episode since the first time I watched through Torchwood, so I have not seen this episode in, like, 5 or more years. I have very little memory of it. So I'm interested to see how that one turns out. As for Doctor Who itself, next week we will be discussing the Shakespeare Code, and I expect that we will all be throwing out lots of actual real life turf J.K. Rowling jokes, because the episode sure likes mentioning her a lot for an episode about Shakespeare.
Haha, J.K. Rowling is the modern Shakespeare, right?
yeah, actually, yeah.
I mean,
I just realized that that's probably kind of the point that the episode is making, and God, is that cringe.
yeah.
Very unbased. Very unbased.
Because not only was Shakespeare a better writer who came up with like a whole bunch of tropes and words, Shakespeare was also gay and horny as fuck.
However, they do share the startling amount of anti-Semitism in their stuff, so...
Okay, but Shakespeare also came from the 1500s, so, like, it's still not good, but, like, cultural context-wise, it makes more sense.
It's... That whole episode is a trip in general. We'll get there.
Yeah. Anyways, so you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can also email us your thoughts on either this week's episodes or the episodes that we're talking about next week at b2tardispod@gmail.com. We will also be starting a Patreon soon, and if you contribute to that, you can get benefits. Actually, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna run down, I guess, sort of what we've got, how I've structured the Patreon now, and then if you have thoughts on that, or things that you think might be better, or ways that we could restructure this, let us know either by dropping us an email or like a message on Twitter. So right now we have 3 tiers, one for $3, one for $5, and one for $10. I don't feel comfortable asking for more than that a month, because that's like I know our listener base who are just as trapped in this capitalist hellscape as we are. So yeah, at the $3 tier, you get access to new episodes a day earlier. Hopefully, there might be a couple weeks where it doesn't work out because of like scheduling quirks, but I will try to honor that as much as possible. At $5 per month, you get to hang out in a Discord call with me as I watch the week's episodes. And at the $10 tier, you are the epic gamer, and we really, really appreciate your support. At that tier, you can listen in live to us recording the podcast. And I would like to start doing bonus episodes eventually, and when we do start, the $10 tier will be getting access to those first. They will eventually become available for like people in lower tiers and non subscribers, but like the $10 tier will get that first. So if you have any other thoughts on ways that we could restructure that, or other benefits that we could add, please let us know. Until then, I'm Jeff. You can find me on Twitter at WheatleyDL. I post about video games and about how Metal Gear Solid 3 makes a point about how killing people is better than The Last of Us 2 does.
My name is Skylar. You can follow me on Twitter at skyhigh9_5. You'll probably see me defending the new PS5 design because I unironically like it. Come at me, haters.
Last but not least, it's your soy boy, Soy Avery. You can follow me and the brain homies at Feet Detector on Twitter.com.
Yeah. Until then, we will see you all next week.